Well, the 2021 Thanksgiving holiday weekend theatrical box office frame is officially closed, and we have some final numbers to report. And of course, this weekend, the big news story was the Walt Disney Animation Studios' new Thanksgiving film, Encanto. How did it do? Hint, not as well as they would have liked. Let's get into it. Online. Well, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend here in the U.S. And for all of my friends abroad, hope you had a great weekend with the family as well. Let's get back into this. Of course, we always put Hollywood through the business and financial lens here on Valiant Renegade. And if you're like one of the 65 to 70% of the people watching this video right now who have not yet subscribed to this channel, well, I hope you do that today. Good to see everybody. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out. And of course, do leave a comment before you head out. And let us know your thoughts on the video. Let us know if you've seen any of these movies. What's your thoughts on the box office, the state of Hollywood these days? Love to hear from it. So I want to go back just a few days. I want to go back. This is an article that we brought up in one of the previous videos that we did going into the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, talking about some of the box office projections. Let's see how things lined up with reality. This is from Box Office Pro. So here were the projections going in to this past weekend, the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. This was released prior to the Wednesday open of Encanto, and I want you to take a look at these numbers just to refresh everyone's memory from the prior videos what we were looking at. Encanto, Walt Disney Pictures, a $39.3 million three-day weekend forecast. That would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That would be Black Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A 5-day weekend forecast because it opened on Wednesday. That would be Wednesday. That would be Thanksgiving Day, and then Black Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. $56.4 million. These are, folks, these are domestic numbers. Domestic numbers. Location count at 3,980 screens. Of course, if you think this is a little bit low for Disney releases, we've been seeing at 4,200 and 4,300, you would be correct. And the reason is because, as I have surmised, again, studios like Disney and Warner Brothers are having a rough time getting the best deals like they used to get pre-pandemic because of their theatrical release schedule. In the case of Encanto, in case you didn't already know, Encanto will be available for you to see for free on Christmas Eve, December 24th on Disney Plus with your subscription. It only has a 30-day theatrical window. Basically, Disney telling people there's no real reason for you to go see this in the theaters because of that. And I will argue that point till the cows come home. And the same thing goes for Warner Brothers, even movies that I loved like Dune. When you tell audiences there's no reason to see this in theater, you can sit at home for $9 and watch this on TV at home. People are not going to go to the theaters. You're going to leave so much money on the table. It is not helping either the subscription streaming services or the theatrical revenues. It doesn't matter. Deadline, Variety, they all seem to agree now, saying what I've been saying for months. Same thing that the National Association of Theater Owners has said, NATO, for some time. This is where we are. So here were the projections. 39.3 and 56.4 million over that 3 and 5 day Thanksgiving weekend. And how did Encanto actually do in the domestic market? Well, not so well. $40.5 million. And that is over the 5-day. The 5-day. So in other words, they basically met the 3-day total over the course of 5 days. This movie drastically, radically underperformed. And we're going to talk about some of the details on this because I think it's important to understand. Of course, Disney was concerned, as we've talked about before, would families show up to the theaters and all this kind of stuff we talked about last week. Yes, indeed, families showed up to the theaters. The metrics from places like Post-Track and EntTelligence, entertainment intelligence that Deadline discusses frequently nowadays showed that families were showing up in droves for Ghostbusters. And guess what? This was Disney's problem. They showed up in droves for Ghostbusters Afterlife again this weekend against Encanto. So let's go to the Deadline article. Encanto and Ghostbusters Afterlife split families. The House of Gucci best opening for a drama in 2 years. I guess if you want to see that movie, that's fine. Nothing against it. I'm just not here to talk about House of Gucci today. Thanksgiving box office Sunday update. So let's get right down to the nitty-gritty. 2 family movies. Disney's animated Encanto, which banked 52% of its $40.3 million 5-day gross from Latino and Hispanic audiences in the domestic market. So this was way overrepresented by Hispanic and Latino audiences this weekend in the U.S. And Sony's Ghostbusters Afterlife, which delivered $35.3 million in its second weekend over Wednesday through Sunday. Those were the top 2 destinations for families. So obviously Ghostbusters Afterlife sucked a lot of life out of Encanto. Encanto really couldn't stand up to Ghostbusters. This weekend honestly was more a testament for Ghostbusters Afterlife. The word of mouth and the legs that it developed that we've talked about here for a week that would happen. This is much more of a testament to that than anything else we have seen thus far. So let's keep going down. Now, worldwide, it did $70 million, which is respectable. But again, this movie has a $120+ million production budget. It has a hell of a hurdle to get over. So we have to keep our eyes on this because this is not the kind of thing that Disney is used to. So let's talk a little bit more about this. This next paragraph, I think, is key. If Disney CEO Bob Chapek is wondering whether families went to the movie theaters or not, the answer is yes, they did. It's just that there was another family movie on the marquee doing business. Box office analytics company EntTelligence clocked that over 5 days, 3.7 million moviegoers saw Encanto, while 3.25 million bought tickets to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Over those 3 days, Encanto did 27 million to Ghostbusters 24.5. So Ghostbusters, as we said, would pace Encanto. We called it. And Ghostbusters only came in about 10% behind Encanto. Rival studios estimate that both movies are even closer than that, so we'll see where they settle tomorrow, meaning today. And 51% of Encanto's business came from families, largely driven by females at 62%. More evidence that families came out over the holiday. Universal snuck in Illumination's Sing 2 yesterday at 1,000 theaters for a sneak peek at 5 p.m., single showings at 1,000 theaters. We will know the gross on what Sing 2 was on this sneak preview on December 22nd when the movie opens. So they'll roll those numbers in. So we have to wait a little bit to see. I can't imagine it was probably more than $1 million, but it's still something that was additionally taking the wind out of the sales of Encanto. So further from the Deadline article, quote, unfortunately, it stands to be argued that Encanto launching over the Thanksgiving frame, general moviegoers might have felt that it was Disney Pixar's Coco all over again from the marketing, which is a prime reason why we're seeing one of the lowest openings in recent years for one of the studio's animated films over that Thanksgiving holiday. Perhaps launching Encanto during a different season of the year would have distinguished it more. And I have to say, I kind of got the same impression after seeing Coco and really enjoying it, that Encanto had a lot of the same feels and themes to it. Even though I know it's a different movie, different characters, but it seems like they were going after that same audience once again, which it did well with. Over 50% again of the audience this weekend in the U.S. market was from the Hispanic and Latino community, which is great. But the problem is the broader audiences were a little confused by the marketing from this. And this is something that Disney is going to have to address. They have yet this year to really have a hit, which is very unusual for Disney. In fact, I'd go so far as to say we're at the point now this year where I don't think Disney is going to make a dime of profit on a single movie they have released so far, and especially from the MCU, which is unthinkable. So let's go over here to a comparative chart so we can get a good idea of where Encanto falls with its predecessors in recent years. You see here we've got Encanto, Thanksgiving 2021, Coco, Thanksgiving 2017, Frozen 2, Thanksgiving 2019, Moana, Thanksgiving 2016, The Good Dinosaur, which was a huge bomb for Disney, Thanksgiving of 2015, and Ralph Breaks the Internet 2018. Now you can see down here, the very bottom of this chart, we've got Day 5 Encanto at $40.3 million. Of course, Encanto is just getting started out, so we really can't compare it to some of these big ones, especially Frozen 2, which had a tremendous built-in audience because of the first Frozen movie years before had built up a massive following. But again, I just want to show this is what Disney is used to. Now, the thing I want to call to your attention here is where the trend line is for Encanto compared to these other films. Regardless of how far these things stretch out, you have to look here. This little blue line at the bottom is falling under the pack, and that's key. That is key to see how it's legging out, which is to say not very well at all. At this point on day 5, Coco was at 55.455, or excuse me, The Good Dinosaur was at 55.45 million, and that was a huge bomb for Disney. Now, granted, it had a higher production budget, but I don't think all the numbers are quite in yet on Encanto. Right now at 120 million, I think that may still be a little bit light. We'll find out soon enough. But you can see here that a lot of these day 5, day 6 numbers were up in the 60, 70, 80 million dollar range. And Encanto is frankly nowhere close. So if we go down here and we look at some of these legged out numbers, we can see that Encanto is still well behind where it should be for its first Sunday frame. If we look here, going across the board compared to 73 million almost, 130 million with Frozen 2, 82 million with Moana, 55 million on The Good Dinosaur, which was a mess, and Ralph Breaks the Internet, 84 million. So Encanto certainly is in trouble. And again, I think this goes back partially to Disney's release schedule. Putting this out there 30 days after it debuts in a theater for free on Disney Plus is just not working out for the studio. So that's where we are right now, folks. This is where we are this weekend. This is where we are with the Thanksgiving holiday frame. And again, I can't say enough about Ghostbusters really legging out. Now, it's still yet to be determined if this movie will actually turn a profit at the box office. It still has a little ways to go, but I think considering the word of mouth, considering the popularity, considering the hold into the second week and the second weekend, this movie has a good shot, and it still has a lot of major international markets yet to open in that'll happen over the next 2 weeks. So we have to keep an eye peeled. And again, there's not a whole lot of competition at this point in the box office for the next 2 or 3 weeks until Spider-Man comes out and The Matrix comes out. But Spider-Man especially is going to be much more of a family draw than The Matrix. So we'll see. And of course, The Matrix is also being released day and date on HBO Max thanks to Warner Brothers' release schedule that we have lamented all year. So in any case, before you head out today, let me know your thoughts on all this. We'll have some more videos coming later this week. We are going to talk about some of the Spider-Man news. I think this is very interesting, and I think it's worthy of going back and doing a bit of a business and financial retrospective on the Spider-Man intellectual property, how it relates to Sony and Marvel / now Disney, and where the money gets made, the deals that have been coming up, some of the news that's come up this week. I think that's an important topic to cover. And of course, Hawkeye also dropped this week on Disney Plus. And that is not doing very well at all. There'll be another video on that. Disney just cannot seem to get anything going this year, especially with the MCU. So, again, before you check out, thanks for everybody being here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, hit that notification bell, share this sucker out, drop a comment before you head out. And until next time, take care.